And we welcome you back to the starting lineup, and it is great to have you with us on a beautiful Thursday in the Ozarks. Starting lineup is brought to you by Play It Again Sports in the Fremont Shopping Center, Battlefield in Fremont, Springfield. Anything you want on that sports line right there at Play It Again Sports. By Swing Right Golf on South Campbell, a little bit north of Nixon. You have everything you want, not just in golf, but you have the outdoor batting cages and you have the simulator in golf, and it's all right there for you at Swing Right Golf. By Citizens Bank of Rogersville with two locales. One's adjacent to Highland Springs and the other is in Rogersville itself. And by Marshfield Chevrolet at the I-44 exit, couple of left turns, and then you cross over I-44. You're on the north side, and you drive right in on the outer road to Marshfield Chevrolet. And we very much appreciate the patronage from our sponsors, and you're being part of that economy. It's all very important. I'm Ned Reynolds, along with
Dwight Glenn,
Maddux Radosevic,
and
Art Hains.
Morning, Art. What's going on, man?
Morning, guys. Not much.
Doing okay?
Yeah.
After a 2-1 win last night, I'm sure you're doing okay.
How many times have the Royals been one strike away? And they were last night. Well, I'm holding my breath.
Yeah, but it happened. You got by, and 2-1 was a great outing by Noah Cameron last night too. Terrific.
3 in a row for him.
It's coming on.
In his last 3 outings, he has 23 innings pitched, 1 earned run.
Well, gentlemen, we are about to change our focus now to football, and in particular the prep level of football, which begins next week. That's when the doors are open. In the meantime, it's the so-called, quote-unquote, dead period for everyone. I'm sure that's a great time for the coaches and the players, but it's a pleasure to visit with Coach Mac Whitehead from the clever BlueJays off a 9-3 season. And, you know, when you have something like that, the next thing is a state championship, Coach. That figures into the mix, right?
Well, you know, our kids, you know, they truly have that goal in mind. But, you know, last year we had a wonderful year last year with 9-3 and, you know, and making it to the district championship and then even having a chance to win it at the end. You know, we're extremely excited about last year, but, you know, I think we've got a lot of key pieces coming back this year. So, you know, we're looking forward to what's in front of us.
That would be the key, having the returnees from last year. What would you say, now, folks, for those of you who are new listening, the Clever football program is really relatively new. Is this 6 or 7 years now, Coach?
This will be the 7th year.
7th year. And here you are in a situation where you're 9-3, coming off a 9-3 season, and into perhaps who knows what might lie in store. How has the citizenry of Clever reacted to all this?
Oh, it's been amazing. You know, I think, you know, 2 years ago, we finished 5-5 and, you know, we got a little bit of a taste of what it's like to win. You know, for so long, you know, we were the homecoming parade. You know, everywhere we would go, we were playing on homecoming, whether it was week 2, week 3, week 4. You know, felt like we needed T-shirts made. But, you know, last year we were 5-5, or 2 years ago 5-5, and we got a little bit of momentum, and you could see it kind of pick up with our junior high program and our Pee Wee program. And then last year, you know, we just win after win. You know, especially, you know, once we got through Fair Grove, when we beat Fair Grove on that Saturday, the excitement really kind of picked up for us, and the home stands were starting to get a little bit fuller. The kids, the Pee Wee players, the excitement, you know, as we're walking down to the field on Friday nights, you know, that got more intense for our kids. And, you know, it's a wonderful place to play. You know, it's a great stadium. It's a great atmosphere, I believe, especially for a program that, you know, there's so many programs that have, like, this is our tradition, and we're still building that. We don't really know what our traditions are yet, and, you know, to be on the ground level, the foundation of that, and building those traditions is pretty exciting.
Maddux?
Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but your senior class from last year, when they were freshmen and sophomores, they went 0-20, and then you come in, you turned around, win 5 games their junior year, and then a program best 9 wins their senior year. First of all, how did you turn that around? And secondly, what are you going to do now that senior class is gone?
My first year, the seniors this year were freshmen, so I kind of came in on Coach Howard kind of started working toward what we're building now. I knew we had a chance. My first year we went 0-10, and I thought, we got some key pieces. Like we're a lot better than 0-10, and then that next year, as the defensive coordinator, we kind of put I felt like the right fit on defense, and we were able to go 5-5, and those seniors are instrumental in what we were able to do. There's about 9 of them that really just stuck with it. When I came on, I think one of the biggest changes was the weight room emphasis. And kids today, when back in the early 90s, your weight room was, if you can get to it, you can get to it. Most of the kids were out in Seneca. We were hauling hay all day long. So it wasn't like we weren't getting any physical activity. But anymore, if you don't have kids that are just bought in, committed to the weight room and making themselves bigger, faster, stronger, you're always going to be struggling to catch up. And I think that group, their influence in the weight room, once I got on campus and got into the weight room and with those kids and working with them, and then how that trickled down to the younger kids. This summer we had over 135 kids in the weight room in the month of June. On 3 days a week, and that's just, to me, for our size of school, that's important. And I think that senior class and their emphasis in the weight room, they're bought into what we were trying to do, as far as, building a team chemistry and working through leadership skills. And, it wasn't just the weight room. I was bringing them in at 6 o'clock in the morning, feeding them pancakes. And we're talking about, how do you be a good teammate? What's it like? They're a special group, but I've got a good group of seniors this year with Braden Flood and Kendall Piper and Tyson Clark. I got some good dudes coming back.
Archer,
Coach, when you had the 0-10 and then you won the next year, where was that first win and what was that like?
Man, Art, you put me on the spot. I want to say, I think was it Miller at home? I want to say it was Miller at home. And that was pretty emotional for our kids. And again, that's something that we have a hard time dealing with now is, we used to, like a lot of Class 1 schools wanted to schedule us early because, they're going to get bonus points and it's probably a win. Now, we're struggling to, find those week 1-2 opponents as far as, we kind of have to be selective of where we go and who we play now. But I want to say that 0-10 coming off that first win was Miller at home. And, there were a lot of tears from the seniors at the time. They were 0-21 and because they lost that last game. I want to say their sophomore year, and then they lost everything their junior year, and then coming into that season. So that was pretty special for those kids.
Right.
Coach Whitehead, you have a special athlete in Trenton Allen. It's not often a sophomore will lead a team in receiving, and he averaged over 20 yards a catch. I'm assuming that's going to be a big part of your plan for this year. And tell us a little bit about Trenton Allen.
We knew, coming in, I told Willie, when he was freshman year, I said, Willie, he's special. And he was a running back from junior high coming in, and we had to kind of figure out a way to get him on the field. And, when we went empty, he was that fifth receiver that we put on the field. And immediately he starts making an impact, making some great catches and getting open. And I think a lot of it had to do that, when people looked at the scouting report, they just saw a ninth grader out there and didn't worry too much about it. But as the year progressed, now all of a sudden he's a starter and he's playing every game at wide receiver, and I'm using him on defense at a corner. And, I think he surprised a lot of people. He didn't surprise the coaching staff because we knew what he could be. He was the offensive MVP as a freshman. He was the offensive MVP as a sophomore. He was unanimous all conference as a wide receiver as a sophomore. He is, he's special, and it's not just, his football skills. He's a great kid. He's one of those, he's always asking, what do you need, coach? And he's just a great kid to be around. So, for me, and I've told everybody this, my biggest challenge this year is, I can't hide him anymore. So how do we put him in, creative, situations to put him in space and get him the ball, and he knows that. He gets frustrated. He got frustrated a little bit. We went down to Seneca and for like a 1-day practice with Seneca, and we were struggling to get him the ball a little bit, and he gets frustrated a little bit because he wants the ball. He's not selfish, but he knows what he can do with the ball, and in critical situations, he wants to be the man with the ball. So, it'll be fun this year watching him grow. He had a great camp at Evangel, made several great catches, kind of opened the eyes of the coaches there at Evangel. So, it's always good when he's on your team, and it's especially good that he's only a junior. So, I'm excited about that.
Mac Whitehead is the head coach at Clever. You are from Seneca, is that correct?
Yes.
You talked about baling hay down there as your conditioning. So the kids in Clever are baling hay and lifting weights. Heck, they'd be able to throw the bales up into the second floor.
Man, I wish they were. They don't make small bales anymore. You drive around the fields anymore, and it's all big squares or big circles. So, but I've got some. I do have some hardworking kids. And that's what I love about Clever is it reminds me so much of growing up in Seneca. I mean, it's a small town. The community is close knit. The kids are a well committed group to each other. So, it is a great fit. I tell everybody, I've been doing this is my 27th year, and I've had the opportunity to work with some great coaches. My first 8 years I was at Branson with Coach Hancock, and then I got to go back home and work with Coach Scheibel at Seneca. But the Clever community and the overall school itself is probably the best place I've ever been.
Right.
Well, the good thing about Clever, Coach, is if you don't know where a kid is, if he's late for practice, just go to Casey's and you'll probably find him.
That's exactly right.
Being at a 1A school, is it safe to assume that you've got a lot of your players going offense and defense, playing both ways?
We do. We had this year, it's kind of like I said, the success has gotten us a few more numbers. And we have probably right now about 8 kids that are going to go both ways right now. But I think if some of those newer kids learn quickly, we could see us playing, 5 or 6 one way by week 2 or week 3. But again, these kids have never played football before. And so they're, it's not like you can just wake up one day and go out there and put on a pair of shoulder pads and helmet and be successful. Like you've got to learn how to, body position and just how to play the game. So it's, like I said, it's an exciting time to be at Clever.
Arthur?
Well, and Mac, I know Clever is a growing community wedged in there between Nixa and Republic. And I mean, not just the town itself, but some surrounding area there. You've got some people wanting to live in Clever.
We do, and and that's what I think. At first, when we start having success, we've had a couple of kids that have moved in to the school district, and and that's one of those. We're a 4-day school week, and it's a smaller class size, and and I tell everyone that it's only a matter of time before there's people in Nixa and Republic that they want that small town feel. They want to maybe take advantage of our 4-day school week and our program's going to grow, and especially once we start having success, and that's good for everybody. We want to be someone that, hey, I want to go to school there. There's good things happening at Clever, and there is, and it's not just football. Our basketball team, they won 20 games last year, and Coach Price does a good job with them, and our baseball team does a really good job. Coach Cobbin, we just had a girl track. Val just committed to go to Missouri State, so it's not just football. I mean, our athletic programs are solid on both the boys and the girls side.
And, of course, last year, the success that you guys had, that is a big reason why the expectations are so high going into this year. You say that the district championship is the new expectation. How do you anticipate your team is going to hold up to that expectation? That's a good question. Those, even as good as our junior and sophomore, our junior and senior classes this year, those seniors last year were really our leaders, and that was our backbone. We had Tavis and Quentin Limmer, our first all-state football player, and Lucas Peoples, who is going to go play basketball at Central Methodist. I mean, there's some keys there that, we're missing. And that was our goal this summer, is try to figure out what pieces with these younger kids that we needed to, put them in the right place to be successful. So I think, from our camp at Seneca and the things that we were able to do over the summer and how we ended at Evangel, I think we're going in the right direction. And I think our kids are responding to not having those seniors to kind of lean on and taking some ownership in the team itself. So, I'm excited for where we are.
Mac, what teams did you play for down in Seneca, and did you wrestle down there as well?
I played for Tom, and I graduated in 94. So, I was, there in 91, 92, 93. And, no, I did not wrestle for Bob Triplett. He was too mean for me at the time. Playing for Coach Hodge, and I think probably the biggest things is just his influence. I think, if you came and watched a practice, or if you come and watch us play, of all the coaches that I've played for and had the opportunity to work for, I think he probably still has the biggest influence on how I approach kids in the game.
Where was you?
I remember watching the state championship game at Briggs Stadium, then Plaster, that you all played in.
Yeah, and that was in 95. Is that
maybe somewhere in there? Yeah.
And that was, like I said, I think a lot of people take for granted, and I know I do sometimes. Seneca, growing up there, that's traditional football. That's generational. You've got great grandfathers, grandfathers. There's you can go back 5-6 generations of kids that are playing there today. And that's one thing. When we went down there, I was talking to Cody, and I was asking about certain kids, and the last names are all the same. And that's something that we don't have at Clever yet. A lot of our kids, their dads may have, unless they've moved in, they probably, they never played football. The biggest they've got is, watching the Chiefs on Sunday, bless their hearts. And so, it's like I said, we're growing. It's becoming a football community, and I love it.
Was teaching them the game when you came in there, was that a difficult prospect from a instructor standpoint? When I got there, the kids, when they started the program, they were like probably in third, fourth, or fifth grade. So they had some peewee time. So teaching them the game to the kids we have, it wasn't the hard part. They knew how to block. They knew how to tackle. The mental aspect of it, I think, getting them over the hump was teaching them how to win. There's some mental toughness to this game. It's a physically tough game, but learning how to persevere and overcome situations like when it's not really going your way.
You got to teaching them that, things that happen in the first quarter is not going to determine the outcome in the fourth quarter, and how to overcome those certain situations. That was probably the biggest thing. And just teaching them to trust and believe in each other. And, that's why we focus so much early on about, hey, this is how you become a good teammate. These are the characteristics of a great teammate. This is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do things. That was probably the piece that was missing to kind of get us in that first win and the second win, and then get them to believe that, hey, it's the fourth quarter, but we're down 6, but we're gonna be okay. My first year, we went to Miller. We got up. Miller came back. We're down a couple of points, and we get down to the goal line, and we've never kicked a field goal before. And I can remember telling them, I said, I'm going to go. This is what we're going to do on third down. I said, I'm going to run this play, but it's going to put us in the middle field. If we score a touchdown, great. If not, we're going to kick a field goal, and we're going to win by 2. And every coach on the sideline looked at me like, you're going to do what? We're going to kick a field goal. Like we've never kicked a field goal before. And I was like, trust me, I got this. And sure enough, we went down there. We didn't get it. Put us right in the middle of the field. And then one of the Limmer twins, I couldn't tell you which one because they look alike. They went out there, kicked a field goal. We won by, I think the final score was 23-21, and that kind of got us going last year. So, learning how to handle those situations, I think is key for us right now.
And who do you start your season with this year?
We get to go to Marionville.
Thank you.
Well, Bill Rowe Field.
So, and that's what, and I'm excited about it. I have a lot of respect for Coach Grubbs and what he's done at Marionville. And it's right down the road from us. I think they're like 15 minutes from us. I think it'll be a great rivalry. Once we get to playing one another, I think it could be a great week 1 opener for both of us for a really long time. Our kids are excited about it because, I think they would scrimmage when they were in youth. And so it's been a while since they've played in Marionville in football. And so we're excited about it. I know their community is excited about it. I tell people to be the best, you got to beat the best. And, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to go down to Seneca early in June and scrimmage Cody and those guys, because I wanted our kids to understand the physicality of what good Class 3 football is like, to get a taste of it before we, get to the district championship again, if we're willing to. So, it'll be a lot of fun.
Do you have a jamboree?
We do. We host a jamboree this year with Houston and Aurora. So, getting a SCA school in for a jamboree, and then also a Big 8 school, that was kind of, I wanted our kids to have a taste of both of those conferences, because they're both, when the districts come out, usually we have a mix of Big 8 and that SCA conference in there. And, I want them to have a feel for it before we get going.
Mark it down, folks. The Clever Blue Jays, a team that is about to achieve big headlines. Mac, thank you very, very much for visiting with us. Please do keep us posted as the season goes on. Will you do that?
I will do that. And I appreciate you guys having us. I always, people ask all the time, will you be on this? Are you doing this? And I will never tell anyone no, because I love talking about my kids and I love talking about my program.
Beautiful. That's the way it needs to be. That's Mac Whitehead, folks. He's the coach at Clever High School. Take a time out on the starting lineup and be right back. And the Cardinals are not scheduled today, so there will be no game here at 102.1. But then Friday comes around, as does Saturday and Sunday, and the Colorado Rockies come into play. That'll be interesting, because I think, Dwight, you made a very cogent comment. This is a chance for the Cardinals to sweep.
Well, you would hope so. I mean, you can never predict a sweep. You have to win one at a time. But if they have any hopes of getting back in the wild card chase, they need to go back to the La Russa formula. Win every series. If you can win, 2 out of 3 in every series, by the time you get to the end of the year, you're at least going to be in the mix.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yes. And I think they probably... Theoretically, the Cardinals are there. They're still 4 games out, and there are 2 teams in front of them, and that's going to be a dogfight as the season goes on.
I have a question for Art. Art, are you surprised that the Royals are keeping their manager after the year they've had, or is it just all in for next year at this point?
They may not keep him after this year. I mean, you could say he deserves a pass because of all the injuries, but his mishandling of the bullpen has been just criminal. So, I mean, I think that was going to be reassessed at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, too, and Ned's talked about it, too. Teams are apt not to make many large moves now until we figure out when and if the season's going to start next year.
That's right, and, we've all been figuring there's going to be a long work stoppage. Now, Colin Cowherd is insisting that there's not, that there's too much money out there on the table that the owners are making right now and the players. But it's still going to come down to the salary cap or whatever kind of mitigating circumstance they come up to somewhat equalize the power imbalance, the revenue imbalance, I should say, based on market size.
But we were talking at the very beginning of the show. Bob Costas was interviewed by Rich Eisen yesterday, and I saw a clip, and he's predicting that he thinks they're going to, the owners are intentionally wanting to hold out until the 1st of May to reduce the schedule to about 140 games, plus attendance in April is not that great anyway, and it won't jeopardize being able to renegotiate their television contracts after next year. If they don't play a certain amount of games next year, all of those contracts with all the networks and streaming services automatically renew and can't be renegotiated.
Wow, that's getting in the weeds. I did not know that, but Bob Costas usually knows what he's talking about.
He does indeed, and he has forecast. Most of his forecasts have come to fruition.
Well, Bob Costas was the one that wrote a book about 30 years ago saying that baseball needed a salary cap.
And a salary floor.
Yep.
And here,
I remember it at the time. Still true.
Yep, still true.
It is the only sport without one.
And I think the salary floor is just as important as the cap myself, Art.
I do too.
All righty, guys, we'll take a time out on our brief segment, and we have a special guest coming up. Please stay right where you are. Great to have you with us on the starting lineup as we welcome you back to the Thursday edition. Starting lineup brought to you by Play It Again Sports, by Swing Right Golf, by Marshfield Chevrolet, and by Citizens Bank of Rogersville. Ned Reynolds along with
Dwight Glenn,
Maddux Radosevic,
and
Art Hains,
and our special guest who is joining us from deep in the heart of Texas, San Antonio to be specific. Jason Schwartz is the play-by-play man for the Springfield Cardinals, who are down there on midway through a 6-game series. Jason, what's going on, man? You doing all right?
Hey, yeah, we're doing okay. Just like you said, deep in the heart of Texas, deep in the heart of baseball season. Just looking forward to being back up in Springfield next week.
There's the key right there. You'll be coming home. This is interesting, folks, because I'm not sure that many in the audience realize that when the baseball trading deadline or baseball trade period happens during the course of a season, there is a trickle-down effect. And that trickle-down does all the way down to the lower minor leagues. Well, not that Class AA is lower. It isn't. It's a midway point. But the Springfield Cardinals, I think, in my opinion anyway, felt the effects of that last night with the appearance of a newcomer from the Milwaukee Brewers system. Jason, tell us about Mr. Ragsdale.
Yeah, well, just in general, to your point, I saw someone tweet that the biggest buyers of the baseball trade deadline were the Springfield Cardinals, because you mentioned the trickle-down effect. The Cardinals ended up with 7 or 8 new players, from the day after the deadline. Some of those just from promotions, others from trades, like you mentioned. Josiah Ragsdale being one of those guys. He came over from the Brewers in the Dustin May, JoJo Romero deal. And, yesterday in his very first at-bat in the Cardinals organization, hit a home run and slotted in the cleanup spot in what is already a very talented, very deep Springfield Cardinals lineup. So, yeah, the Cardinals got a really interesting player who was drafted by the Brewers last year, 7th-round pick, and he's been exceeding all expectations this season. So, the Cardinals may have gotten someone who is really, really interesting and exciting.
Jason, you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, this offense is deeper than ever, and the guy that seems to continue to be the most prominent superstar is Rainiel Rodriguez. More accolades for him, gets the Texas League Player of the Week award. What is it about his swing that makes him so dominant?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, when you started that sentence, there were like 2 or 3 guys I thought you might mention. I wasn't even sure, but yeah, he hit another home run last night. It's his 13th at Double-A. What makes him so exciting, I think, is he's 19 years old. He's the top catching prospect in baseball, and he's just one of those guys at just 19 where it's cliche, but it just sounds different off the bat, right? I mean, he's hit 13 homers. His OPS is somewhere near 900 since the end of May or beginning of June. And he's just one of those guys you got to see to believe almost. He seems well beyond his years, and he's someone that Cardinals fans should be really excited about.
Arturo?
Jason, the Cardinals have had a really good second half so far. I mean, I know there's been a lot of personnel change, which is the nature of the beast in minor league baseball, but what's the difference between the first half, second half?
Yeah, it's just been an infusion of talent and new players. It's been a steady team all season. It really has. They got off to a bad start the first few weeks, but crunched the numbers and saw that since the low point of the season, the Cardinals are 47-29, I think, going into yesterday's game. That's a really good record over a very long period of time. So they really got things going after a bad first month. But you get a guy like Rainiel Rodriguez, Jesus Baez, Juan Bin Cho, Liam Doyle has started to figure it out on the mound. It's just a deep team now that they're going to go out there and they're going to win more nights than they're not. And so that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. Is just the Cardinals have done a really good job of adding a lot of talent to this farm system, and we're seeing that here in Springfield for sure.
Wait.
Jason, I've been to a couple of games this year and really enjoyed it. It's a very entertaining team, and the crowds have been really positive both times I've been. You get to see the whole league, and we're always curious about crowd sizes. The economy's rough. We're hearing that, attendance is down in certain places, up in others. In the Texas League, what is your general consensus on how the crowds have been this year?
Yeah, I think as far as what I can tell, they're pretty much the same as they are every season. Texas League's a pretty well attended league. We go to Tulsa a lot. They draw good crowds. You'll see your bigger crowds on your Thirsty Thursdays, your Fridays, and your Saturdays, and it's a little bit lighter Tuesday and Wednesday for sure. But there's still baseball fans out there who come out. They like to heckle, and they like to have a good time. So I think I haven't noticed any difference based off years past.
One of the things we've been talking about way too much, but we have to because it's the elephant in the room, is the potential of a lockout. I know you're not the general manager, you're the announcer, but do you hear talk among the players or among, Cardinals personnel management about planning for next year and who's going to be on the 40-man roster, et cetera, et cetera?
To be completely honest, not at all. Haven't heard a single word uttered or mentioned once. I know that any sort of major league lockout doesn't necessarily affect the minor leagues. The minor leagues kind of goes on as planned. Of course, I think, there could be some sort of I think there'd be a vibe shift, certainly, if there was a minor league season without a major league season going on. But no, I've not heard a word or anybody talk about it.
Visiting with Jason Schwartz, who does the play-by-play and does it expertly for the Springfield Cardinals. Let's fast forward and assume that the Springfield Cardinals are going to win the championship of the second half. Portray for us, if you will, what the postseason would be.
Yeah, so Yeah, right now the Cardinals are on a collision course with Tulsa. Tulsa's the Dodgers affiliate. They're the first half champs in the North Division. They had a great first half. And the Cardinals at the moment are 7 games up with 35-ish games to play on that second playoff spot. So they've got a pretty good stranglehold on it. And if the Cardinals do make it, there'll be a 3-game series against Tulsa. Game 1 would be in Springfield, which would be the Tuesday following the last game of the season. And then you'd have games 2 and 3 in Tulsa. So, it's a quick playoff series. The Cardinals had to deal with it last year. Last year, they were the first half champs and second half champs. Tulsa's the team that got in, though, to play them. And so it looks like we could get a rematch with the way things are lining up.
And these trips to the playoffs for the Springfield Cardinals have been happening quite frequently. This would be the 5th year in a row if they make the postseason this year. How does that kind of thing happen consistently at the AA level for this team?
Talent, having the right people in place and bringing in the right guys, the right talent in the minor leagues. This is my second year in Springfield, so I can't really speak to the 2 years before that, but I'm familiar, of course, with who they've had, and I just think that the Cardinals have put good people in place in the minor leagues. They've brought in good talent, and clearly it's only getting better.
Artur?
Jason, could you restate for us your background, where you were before Springfield, and what you do when you're not doing Springfield Cardinals?
Yeah, you got it. I'm a Southern California native. LA is home for me for most of the season, but I have about 10 years of experience in baseball. I've worked in other organizations, the Rockies, the Astros, the Padres. Was out of the game for a couple of years before coming to Springfield, but I do other broadcast work as well. I work for the USC football team. I'm on their football broadcast. I do halftime and post-game. I host a show there with a former USC player. And then I do college basketball in Southern California as well, primarily at Long Beach State.
Long Beach State 49ers. I think they're still called the 49ers, aren't they?
They're not, no.
New
they
name?
actually they scrapped that name a few years ago. They should still be called the 49ers. I'll go on record saying that. But they are now the Beach. That's the name, the Long Beach State Beach.
Oh, come on!
I don't say it too often on the air. Most people don't. The Beach is what we call it. But they rebranded a couple years ago.
Jason, you might tell the folks a little bit about how you did Southern Cal last year, and especially your attitude when you're in Springfield, Missouri, knowing a team from Springfield, Missouri is playing the Trojans in the opening game. How'd you handle that?
Yeah. There is a little bit of crossover there, and thanks to the wonders of technology, I've actually been able to handle my USC responsibilities from Springfield, I just couldn't even believe the way things lined up last year when I saw our schedule and saw that our very first game of the season was against Missouri State, and so while Missouri State was heading out to LA to play that game at the Coliseum, there I was in Springfield on the air in LA for USC football, and actually I was in the same studio as the Missouri State, the post game or halftime or their studio show. We were just right down the hall, so it was funny the way that worked out.
Did you have to lean out the door and tell them to keep quiet? You're on there.
Fortunately not. And I think after kickoff, most of the noise was coming from USC anyway. But it was exciting to get the Bears and the Trojans on the field for the first time.
Jason, as you well know, Art Hains was the longtime Bears broadcaster, but also did those same things for the Chiefs that you did for Southern Cal. Art, how did you handle your duties?
Well, I've talked about this many times, but Jason, you can identify with this. It would usually be Bears basketball conflicts with the Chiefs in December and January, and all the logistics that'd be involved in trying to do both. You couldn't do them really at the same time, but almost simultaneously. But you do what you've got to do.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, you jump through hoops sometimes, but you get it done. And most people listening on the air, they don't know where you're doing the game from or how many games you've done in a day, and you just have fun with it.
Jason, you might go through from a play-by-play standpoint what your daily routine is and when you start doing your homework for the games. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the beautiful thing about baseball season, just with the day-to-day nature of it, is you build up so much information and so many experiences over the course of a season. So at this point now, here August, what is it today? It's the 6th, right, or the 7th,
Mm-hmm.
6th. At this point, there's so much to pull from. There's so many things that have happened throughout the season, but yeah, we're here on the road right now. Probably head over to the ballpark today. I think the bus is about 2:30, 2:45. Just you get there, you going through your notes, try to head down to batting practice, talk to some players, hang out with the coaches. At this point, I'm not asking a ton of questions. Most of the time, just conversations are happening organically, and you're getting little tidbits here and there. And then on air 15 minutes before first pitch, so fill out the scorebook, maybe an hour before that, grab something to eat, and then showtime. Hopefully a win for the Springfield Cardinals.
Jason, we'll switch back real quick before we let you go. Give us a USC football preview, and how important of a year is this in Lincoln Riley's tenure at USC?
Oh man, what a question! What a question!
You're welcome.
It is the most important year for Lincoln Riley's tenure, and I'm not just the one saying that. He's the one saying it himself. He's had 4 years at USC. The expectations always at USC are sky high, and there's not a single person out there that would tell you that these 4 years have met that expectation. And Lincoln himself coming into this season is saying, all right, I've had 4 years here at USC. We're finally ready to win a championship. And look, not all coaches at a program like that are afforded 4 seasons to make everything ready. But USC just opened yesterday a brand new state-of-the-art football facility on campus that's been in the works for the last couple of years. The vibe is that this is the make or break year. They have not been to the college football playoff ever, which is crazy to say for USC. But there is definitely a lot of talent on this team. Lincoln Riley brought in the number 1 recruiting class this year. Obviously that means a lot of young talent, but in today's game, that means a lot of guys who can play and contribute right away. So yeah, I think the expectations are super high. It's going to be a really difficult season. The Cardinals, the Trojans, the Cardinal and Gold, I should say. They play. They have to play Ohio State. They have to play Michigan this year. They have to play Indiana. They have to play Oregon. So the schedule is incredibly difficult. But that when you're a program like USC and you expect to win national championships, those are the teams you got to beat on the road to get there. So
is the Ohio State game in Columbus or Los Angeles?
It is in it's at USC. It's at home
at the Coliseum.
Yeah.
What kind of a crowd will it have for that?
Oh, you can bet it will be packed. As many as that place can hold, I think will be there. Not only with USC fans, but I think the blessing and a curse for USC is they play in LA, they play at the Coliseum, which is just such a beautiful place to play. But you can bet those Ohio State fans in Columbus will be thinking, hey, what about a little trip out to the West Coast to check out the Buckeyes, in late October, early November. So I think it's going to be a crazy atmosphere. There'll be a lot of Ohio State fans for sure, and USC will certainly show up for it as well.
I'm sure they have thousands of alumni in Southern California.
Yeah, Ohio State probably. I mean, look, every school has thousands of alumni in Southern California. It seems. Indiana, Michigan, those schools, Wisconsin, they tend to have more for some reason than Ohio State, but they'll be there for sure.
Jason, as a USC alum, how do you feel about one of the great traditions in football, Notre Dame, Southern Cal, disrupted this year and the next 2 years after this?
Yeah, they won't be back till 2030. It was just announced this week. Obviously, glad that it's back, but I definitely think there's a little bit of a black cloud over the whole thing. It's just really a shame that both schools and all involved kind of let it get to this point where there's ever a season where USC and Notre Dame don't play. And I certainly can understand from a USC perspective, if your job's on the line, whether or not you're winning, games and going to the college football playoff, I can understand why having Notre Dame on your schedule makes things harder for you. But at the same time, if you're USC, winning a national championship means beating Notre Dame on the road to get there. So we don't want to sit out any games and any opportunities to beat the Fighting Irish. So I'm bummed it was gone. I'm bummed it'll be gone this year and the next few years. Glad it'll be back in 2030. Hopefully, hopefully it's a given at a certain point again that USC and Notre Dame play every year. Because honestly, for me, winning a game like that is just as important as getting to the college football playoff.
But the Springfield Cardinals will be there, as will Jason Schwartz. Jason, many, many thanks. Have a good call tonight and from here on in, okay?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Always good to hang out with you at this early hour.
Jason Schwartz.
Thanks, Jason.
Visiting with us from San Antonio. Quick timeout, back in a second. Art Hains, we only have a few seconds. Fire away, man.
Yeah, real quick, baseball salaries this year. The tops, of course, are the Mets, $318. The Dodgers, $312. Cardinals are third from the bottom, $91 million. Cleveland is last and managing to play 500 ball on a $77 million payroll. The Royals are $148, which is middle of the pack, 18th.
Where are the Tampa Bay Rays?
They are 23rd.
Now think about that. What's that going to do when you come to the negotiations and we need a salary cap for everybody to be equal? Because look at this. There's the antithesis of it right there. What do you think?
Yeah, that's right. And the White Sox are 25th, and they're in first place. And the Mets have the most payroll, and they are not in first place.
And the wealthiest owner in Mr. Cohen, too, at $21 billion. Gang,
another thing real quick about Greg Maddux, I think he would have adjusted, but he would not have been as successful with ABS because he got a lot of leeway on the outside corner.
The umpires stretched that zone just a
They did.
We are out of time, gang. Great having you with us, Ned Reynolds, along with
Dwight Glenn,
Maddux Radosevic,
Art Hains.
And folks, we will be right here tomorrow on the starting lineup.